That was a gift of a handball.
So 2-1 it would finish. It's a winning start for Real Madrid in the Champions League. Stewart, Robson is joining us now, but we have to start with that penalty. While we're watching the game, Craig, you called it ridiculous, the decision.
Well, a defender is, in the art of defending, has to make a challenge. If a player's about to shoot, a player's about to score. And the act of making that challenge, you generally have to, if you don't have to go to ground, it's great, but a lot of times you have to go to ground. And in doing so, his arm was coming down. Now, if he'd come down and swatted the ball away, then I don't have an issue with it. But he basically was falling onto the ball. And what we get so frustrated when we see defenders running out to the ball with their hands behind the back, right? When people are crossing balls into the box. This kind of decision is going to make... Unless we put their arms in a straitjacket, unless they tuck them up here, the arm is always going to be there because it's natural when you're making a challenge. And I just have a problem with something that there was absolutely no intent in making a challenge being given as a penalty kick in the favour of a big team.
And to further the point, there's a deflection ahead of the touch of the arm. When he's making the challenge, he gets a foot on the ball as Vini's trying to cut to the inside. So he's made a challenge. In making the challenge, he's gone down to ground, as Craig just pointed out, does make contact with the ball, and the fact that he actually does make contact with the ball now somehow is punished by the fact that it jumps or the ball bounces right to his arm, which, what can he do with it? Now, Craig just mentioned straitjacket. The other option is sawing the arm off. You can't do either one of those things. You're really limiting the way that defenders go about defending. What else was he supposed to do? He made a challenge, tried to win the ball, got a touch on the ball pops up, hits him in the arm, and now that's a penalty. I just don't see.
We're really sorry, before Stewart has his opinion, we're really sanitising, and also, nobody knows the handball law, inside out. They do not. And by the looks of what we're seeing the start of this season, they are still making it up. But we are sanitising the game to an extent where we're saying, you know, what Mbappe does is a skill. What great players do in the opposing penalty area is a skill. But guess what? So is defending. So is making a great challenge in the box. That's also a skill. And are we saying we're taking that, we're going to pretty much take that away because of the fear that you fall on the ball and it touches your arm and you're not even stopping a goal-scoring opportunity? That ball is not travelling towards goal. It is just basically bobbling around. There's no Real Madrid player around to put that in the back of the net. That's sanitising the game. There has to be an understanding from referees about how players act and how players make a challenge and what effect that challenge could have on your body and the ball position. Clearly, these officials do not have that.
Are you with the boys, Robbo?
Absolutely. I mean, should never have been a penalty. And when you start to listen to what people are saying about why it was a penalty, we had on English TV, they were talking about you're allowed to put your arm down to break your fall, but his arm wasn't going down to break the fall; it was off the ground. It's complete rubbish. It's an accident. There's nothing he can do about it. As Ali just said, it ricocheted off his foot, probably off his hip, back onto his hand. It should never have been given as a handball. It was a terrible decision, and in the end, a match-losing decision.
So what is a natural position as a defender then supposed to be if you're going for a sliding tackle here?
Where his arm was. It's there. I mean, Stevie Nicol, as a top-class, world-class renowned defender in his day, right back, left back, play him anywhere you want, pretty much, stands there and basically self-combobulates at defenders that put their hands behind their back. But you have to understand why they're doing that. Because it's the fear and the worry that officials like this are going to give the most ludicrous penalty decisions against them. And they don't want to be the player that causes that. Now, again, I go back to that point. We are just completely over the top now with this decision-making. We have gone the full spectrum. Nobody knows the handball unless it actually hits somebody with their arm up here and they're making themselves bigger. You're making yourself bigger, that's a penalty kick. You're making a challenge and you're falling on the ball. come on. This is referees who have never made that kind of challenge. They've never had to. They've probably never played the game. They've never made that challenge, and they don't understand what it takes to be in that position.
Robbo, what did you make of Real Madrid's performance overall?
The first 15, 20 minutes, I thought they played at a good tempo. They were on the front foot. They were trying to win the ball back in good areas. They created chances, didn't take them all. And then suddenly Marseille started to play around their pressure and they looked far too open. I mean, some of Marseille looked a bit like the Brighton side when De Zerbi was manager there, when they played into midfield, got it out to the full-backs, played around pressure. And suddenly Real Madrid was struggling. Goulet obviously got caught on the ball for the goal. And for 20, 30 minutes, it was an even match. And the game changed with the sending off of Carvajal, because at that point Marseille should have been in control, should have gone on and dominated, but it was the other way round. In the end, Real Madrid, with the system they played when they made the substitution, Raul Asensio came on, and they actually played better in the last 15, 20 minutes. They had more control of the game than they did for the previous 30. So I wouldn't say it was an outstanding performance. They had a good start and a good finish, but some of the middle areas, they weren't good defensively, I didn't think.
And that was idiotic from him, wasn't it, Carvajal?
Especially after you've just lost Trent.
He's come off with a hamstring injury. Might be 2 weeks, might be 3, might be 6, might be 8. He doesn't know. He is, arguably, Carvajal, that is, the starting fullback. Trent's the one that's getting a bit of game time here and there. And he knows better. He's one of the best in the business. He, as Ali said, he can have no complaints. So that's put his manager in a predicament now. Probably having to put Fede Valverde back out there or something like that. I don't know what the hell they're going to do, but that was just utterly stupid from him, and he can have no complaints.
Vinny Jr was left out of the starting 11. Was that rotation or a message?
Well, I thought that we'd already sent a message to Vinny Jr. I thought that already happened earlier in the season. He was benched earlier in the season when Rodrigo played, and then Vinny Jr. came off the bench and actually had an impact late in the match against Oviedo, and I think we're all good. Or maybe we're not. Maybe Vinny's not getting the message from Xabi Alonso. Maybe there is some disappointment from the performance against Real Sociedad, which we highlighted how good Mbappe had been against Real Sociedad. But as we are talking about how good Mbappe had been against Real Sociedad, we also had to mention Vinny, on the other hand, not so much. Maybe it's a continuation of that, and maybe there's a conversation to be had, or maybe it's a conversation that it's already happened. The truth is that it seems like Xabi Alonso is saying to Vinny Jr., you're not always a starter, you're not a guaranteed starter. Even if it is a Champions League night that is supposed to be reserved for El Once de Gala, the best 11 for Real Madrid, which you would think Vinny Jr. would be part of that, apparently not. So he better get going. It's all I would say to Vinny Jr. You better get going, and you better have performances, consistent performances, and do the things that you're being asked to do, which is I think, what's happening here. That there is a role to be filled by Vinny Jr. that includes pressing the ball. And if he doesn't do it, which he didn't do against Real Sociedad consistently, then Xabi Alonso is saying, I'll find somebody else who will do it, who's willing to do it. And we have players who can do the job. Here comes Rodrigo. This is your opportunity. Now, you also have to ask the question, does Rodrigo take advantage of the opportunity? Well, not so much. And so I don't know that there's a straightforward answer for Xabi Alonso. The best version of Vinny Jr. should be starting for Real Madrid, but we're yet to see that with any consistency in the beginning of the season.
Season before last, him and Bellingham in particular, both have lost form. Bellingham's been out injured, just coming back. Vinicius was first on the team sheet. It was him, and then it was everybody else. He was the man. Before Mbappe arrived, he was the man. And he was playing great. Last year he did not. Not on his own, but as a big star, whinging and moaning about the Ballon d'Or, about, trophies for me, not the team. It's all about me. And it wasn't. He didn't win it. And that affected him. And I think Alonso is saying, and it's been quite clear, show me. Show me that you want it. Show me that you want to get back to being that guy. Show me you can be that guy. And if you don't, here's a seat next to me. And I'll bring Rodrigo in, who was out of favour and who looked as if he was out of the club in the summer. And I think it's good management in a sense where Xabi Alonso's come in, he's managed to get good enough results, but he's laid a marker down. Apart from Mbappe, he's not needed to drop Mbappe because he's been the best player. But all the rest of them, pretty much. Alexander Arnold comes in as a big signing. Yeah, Carvajal's fit. Wait your turn. Sending a message to big players, some of them. You're not performing for me. I will put you on the bench. And that was one of the question marks we had about Alonso coming in. How would he go about making that kind of statement, and would he even attempt it? Well, I think we've clearly got our answer. He's going to do it his way or the highway. And I think that's the correct way to go about it, because ultimately at Real Madrid, you're getting fired. At some point, you are getting fired. When that day comes around, you want to look at yourself and say, do you know what? I made these big decisions. I did what was right at the time. And at the moment, Vinicius Jr is feeling the pain of Alonso putting a marker down.
And if Xabi Alonso is going to do things his way, which I assume is what you would want to do as a manager coming into Real Madrid, and he has the equity and the leeway to do that because of who he was within Real Madrid, one of the things that he has to figure out is that he cannot play with a midfield three. Stewie just mentioned how open they are through that area of the field. And so you need an extra number there. Now, he's tried it, and he's hell-bent on making Arda Güler some sort of deep-line midfielder, which he is not. And Tchouaméni gets himself out of position because he tries to win balls that he's never going to win. And so then that leaves a whole lot of Valverde running around trying to cover a lot of space. When Marseille put together 3 and 4 passes today, they broke through that midfield like they weren't even there. And so then you expose what's going on in the back line. Now, what's going on in the back line is that Militao, who was very good against Real Sociedad, today was getting spun around by Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. Let me remind you, Aubameyang is 36 years old. That front three of Marseille that was essentially Tim Weah, Aubameyang, and Mason Greenwood, when they got into open spaces, which they were able to do because, as I said before, there's a lot of space through the midfield of Real Madrid, they were creating problems. And they had opportunities. Aubameyang should have scored. Mason Greenwood had an opportunity late in which Courtois is having to come up with a save. Tim Weah got himself a goal. It's Marseille we're talking about at home, and yet, if you look at the totality of the game and the balance of the game, as many opportunities as Real Madrid had, Marseille had their chances as well. They need a fourth midfielder because these three that are playing in those positions right now are not going to be able to cover the space consistently.
Going back to the Vinny Jr. point, Robbo, were you surprised not to see him in the 11?
Not particularly, because I think, as the chaps have just said, Xabi Alonso, I don't think's a great fan of his at the moment. He wants him to do things that at the moment he doesn't do particularly well, which is close the ball down, press the ball. And he also wants him to make the right decisions on the ball, when to run with it, when to pass it, when to play little 1-2s. Now, he's had the licence to do what he wants to do for a couple of years. Now Xabi Alonso wants him to be more disciplined. And that's a problem for the player, because he doesn't always play in a disciplined manner. And now he's lost a bit of confidence. And I think it's going to be a struggle for him this season, Vinny Jr.
Let's go back to Kylian Mbappe. You said obviously he's not going to drop this player at the moment because he is the one who's delivering right now. He's got his 50th goal for Real Madrid tonight already.
Yeah, I mean, he's looking... Again, I think we talked about this. What day is it? Tuesday?
It's Tuesday.
Yesterday. Yesterday. It was a long weekend. Very long. We talked about it yesterday, that last year we can look at his numbers, and his numbers were actually very good, but I think Robbo's touched on this, having done a lot of the commentaries. His performances at times lacked the energy and the quality that we know he's got. And we discussed it yesterday, saying like, it looked like he had as big a player as he is, it looked like he had the weight of a poor Real Madrid side and the pressure of the crowd and the expectations on his back a little bit. You know, even the best carry that. But he looks as if even, you know, if you looked at him in tonight's game, even with that scissor kick at the start of the game, he's smiling, he's confident. He looks back to making good decisions in the final third again. Last year, for half the season last year, the first half of the season, he was not. If he was going through in goal, or if he had a couple of defenders, he was scuffing his shot, he was hitting defenders, he was overhitting a pass. He looks as if he's past that now. He looks as if he's kind of puffing his chest out a little bit more. He's got his confidence. The Real Madrid fans are enjoying what they see from him. His numbers are good. And if he could get a little bit better support around him, I think there's no reason why he won't continue in that trajectory.
Far and away, Real Madrid's best player in the early part of the season. And if we go back to the struggles that you're mentioning, Craig, go back a year. A year ago, Kylian Mbappe was missing penalties for fun, including in Champions League, and including not taking penalties that he should have. Even a player like Kylian Mbappe, as any player can, you're going to go through some moments in which the confidence is not there, where perhaps you find a little bit of anxiety because you want to impress this person, that person, those people up there, your teammates. You want to be that guy that everybody thinks you're going to be. And when things don't happen naturally for you to begin with, then you start to press. And I think what happened with Kylian Mbappe is he was trying to do the job of 3 or 4 players instead of doing the things that he can do naturally. Now, far more settled, far more comfortable, far more confident. You're just seeing when he gets going, there is no stopping him. We saw that against Real Sociedad over the weekend, and we saw that today, in which he was the difference maker, which he's expected to be for Real Madrid. But when you're having Vini not playing at a high level or coming off the bench, Mastantuono, even though he gets some nice little touches here and there isn't a whole lot of final product. Rodrigo doesn't do a whole lot. Bellingham is not available. You start looking around, you kind of go, well, it's either Mbappe or it isn't right now for Real Madrid. And so far, so good this season.
When he was caught, I think 8 times, somebody will correct me. When he was caught all those times in the first Clásico that he played in offside, that was telling. And by the way, it was not a good Barcelona offside trap. It was the over-anxious, the over-eagerness, the sort of pressure and the will to, please the fans and win them over to get in there, that he was making those runs way too early. Didn't have to. The space was there, the ball was there. He could have held his run, he timed his runs. He didn't. And that kind of told me at the time that, for a player with that quality and that brain, that football brain, that he was overeager. That game's played again this weekend. He's maybe getting caught in the game once or twice, but he's not doing that. And that just said to me that he was almost trying too hard to get himself in there. And he's making those runs way too early. And of course, Barcelona were catching him offside for fun. We're not seeing that player, I don't think, this year. And that's a good news for Xabi Alonso because he needs him big time to step up because this team are far from perfect in various positions. So he's going to be needed to stay fit, scoring goals, and leading the line as the superstar that he is.
Yeah, it's looking like it's Mbappe's team right now, Robbo.
Yeah, I mean, Mbappe is doing everything right. And as I think Craig just said, when a player is playing well, when he's playing full of confidence, they play with a smile on their face. They're looking happy about what they're doing. And Mbappe's doing that at the moment, whereas, as Ali said last year, he's missing penalties against Liverpool and he looks like the world's on his shoulder. His confidence takes everything away from you. It makes you half a yard slower. It makes you make the wrong runs at times. You don't think about the game. At the moment, Mbappe looks, as he is, a top-class player, world-class player.
Yeah, absolutely. So Real Madrid off to a winning start in the Champions League and in La Liga this season. Can they keep it up on the weekend that's coming against Espanyol? That's Saturday's game, 9:45 a.m. Eastern. We'll also see Barcelona against Getafe on Sunday, 2:30 p.m. Eastern. All of these games available on ESPN+.